Alan Ross, and I'm the managing editor of APC Technologies. We're here at the IRIS ODSR, which is Operator Driven Safety and Reliability Conference in Sarasota, Florida. We're sponsored by IRIS and SDT, and of course APC Technologies. We've done interviews with thought leaders and with practitioners of the operator-driven safety and reliability programs, and just the idea of changing the way we do what we do in maintenance and reliability in the marketplace. There's some fascinating interviews here. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you learn. My next guest is Mike Doolan. Mike, good to meet you. You are the king of DCS, digital something or other for a CBRE. Tell me exactly what your title is and what that means.
Yeah, so I work for CBRE Data Center Solutions.
Okay.
A line of business primarily focused on data center operations for our customers. Okay. And I lead a risk management program called DCS Shield, which is comprised of 5 training and process and technologies that reduce the risk of unplanned downtime in our customers' data centers.
2 things out of that. One, most people didn't know that CBRE manages so many data centers. You guys are global and you have a lot of data centers that you manage. Most people think of CBRE as a old Coldwell Banker, realty company. It's not. It's not your same old CBRE. So you're exposed to all kinds of different data centers. Without going into, because I know we've been in the reliability gig together for a long time, and I've heard you speak about the different kinds of centers, but just a quick primer of the types of data centers that CBRE manages.
Certainly, yeah. So probably about half of our data centers are what we classify as enterprise data centers that are part of a bigger portfolio of facilities that we operate for that customer.
Okay.
So if we look after all their offices or manufacturing or laboratories, and then they also have a data center, then we maintain that as part of that contract. And then we've also got some standalone data center contracts for the co-location customers where their core business is data centers,
right,
or the hyperscalers where again they're managing the cloud and their core business is data centers as well. So.
About data centers, I hear more and more and more about the importance, the growth, the importance, and as more and more data becomes available and people want more and more data managed. Just in terms of scale, how fast is the data center business growing?
It's growing incredibly fast. I think it's probably about 10 times growth in the last 10 years when it was really taking off with Amazon and Google and Microsoft and the cloud really accelerated a lot of that growth. And it's still predicted over the next 4 or 5 years to grow about 4 times again. So it's rapidly expanding, almost to the point where some markets just haven't got the power to supply those data centers anymore, and we're starting to run out of places to put them.
So how did you get involved in it? How did you suddenly go from whatever you were doing in the reliability and risk management of data centers?
Well, when I left university, I got a job with a company called Procord, which was soon acquired by Johnson Controls, and I was on the IBM account in North Harbour in the UK, near Portsmouth, and they were just going through a major refurbishment of what they called their European mega centres. So they were putting in new UPSs and new generators and ripping out all the old carpet raised floors and putting in new vinyl floors. And during that project, a number of errors occurred and incidents occurred because they were trying to keep live data centers operating as they were working through the facility to do the upgrades. So I got involved in the risk management process of risk assessing all the work to make sure that all the thoughts had been taken around how to prevent something going wrong. So I got involved in the mid-90s at the IBM data centers, and I've really been involved in data centers ever since. So.
We're both CRLs. You've sponsored a lot of people at CBRE in the CRL program, and that's where I met you about reliability and how we got involved in the reliability part of. I'm both industrial and data centers, primarily industrial, and commercial a little bit because I got involved with some hospitals in the same way that they never really had a reliability program. I was in one conference with hospital. The staff of a major American hospital, 7 locations, and I asked them when was the last time they had done arc flash studies Not a hand. They didn't. And it's like, okay, you're a hospital. You probably ought to, or maybe that was how you created jobs, was you burnt people up, right? But there's so much that goes on in terms of safety and reliability. We're at an ODSR, operator-driven safety and reliability. It's really a concept that many of us in the reliability industry are pushing to say a safe plant may not be a reliable one, and a reliable one will be a safe one. So the idea of pushing the two together. How does that play in the data center world? Because you have people in harm's way all the time in data centers. People who think you don't, but you do, primarily because there are people around electrical systems, which is harm's way. Talk a little bit about that in terms of where reliability and safety would come together as it relates to data centers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the electrical risks are clearly a major threat in data centers with, often high voltage as well as the low voltage that we have in data centers. But there's also, lots of risks of confined spaces in cooling towers and things like that, working at heights. There's many risks with rotating equipment and just big, heavy equipment within the data center, the racks and servers and things like that. So all of our business units have safety directors working for a global safety champion, and we make sure that every job we do has a job hazard analysis done on it so that we understand all the rules of engagement, the PPE that people need to wear, the boundaries that they need to operate within. So every single job we do has a JHA, as we call it, and we'd start all our meetings with a safety moment, so that whether it's with an internal meeting or with a client, we always kick off every meeting with a safety moment to remind people of the importance of that. So, and I've taken the old Lean Sigma 5S poster and put a 6F in it and say safety's the 6F of the 5S.
No, that's excellent. I've never heard that. I'm gonna cheat and steal that. Okay, send me a copy of that poster, Mike. We're at an IRIS conference, obviously, and I know Martin Robinson, the founder and CEO of IRIS, is a friend of yours. He's also passionate about what you do, and what we learned here is a lot of the technology upgrades with IR, with IR windows, with ultrasound windows. So the technology of testing and detecting equipment seems to be getting better and better and better. But what does that mean for your role and for your different data centers to use that technology to help places that are safer and more reliable at all?
Yeah, no, good question. I think we've got, IRIS products as well as other sort of windows in many of the data centers that we operate. We don't like live working or exposing anybody to the buzz bars and the live breakers. So we want to try and use the predictive techniques as much as we can, and I think the other thing that they're becoming more affordable as well. So a lot of our staff at the sites have got the equipment themselves to self-perform thermography, and that's just a regular part of the maintenance that we do in the data centers. So, and I'm trying to encourage some of the other vibration and some of the other predictive techniques as well for some of the other equipment that perhaps doesn't get so much predictive analytics done on it. So
because people don't think they're in the data centers, right? We think it's just all these machines. I mean, you go, what do you mean? You actually have motors in the data center?
We've got motors, we've got pumps, we've got fans, so we've got a lot of rotating equipment as well, which is also critical. And clearly, it's not only the power. If the cooling to the data centers fails, that can cause the servers to shut down pretty quickly as well. So the cooling is just as critical as the power in some cases.
We talk about 5.9 reliability, right? You got to have 99.999% reliability. A lot of data center reliability came in redundancy. You're being challenged to remove some of that extra asset, some of that extra cost out of the redundancy, but maintain 5.9 reliability. That's part of CBRE's job. Is the pressure to do that? It's not financial. It is redundancy doesn't necessarily work. It helps, but it doesn't work. You got to do other things to be reliable. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So in addition to the maintenance of the equipment and keeping the equipment going, it's the processes that you need to wrap around that as well. So making sure that we hire the right staff, that we assess their training needs, and we give them a thorough training, not just on their trade, but on the specific site that they're working at and the systems they're working on, the interdependencies between those systems. So we have a very thorough training program, which is part of our CERM risk management program around the training of the technicians. We put them all through a certified data center technician professional qualification to make sure they're all knowledgeable about data center operations and standards and functionality. And then we wrap all the other processes around critical work planning and approval, mock drills, doing walkthroughs before we do any work, doing the 4 eyes principle for any switching. So human error is the biggest cause of data center downtime, and that's one of the big parts of the program I run, is trying to reduce that risk of unplanned downtime.
You're trying to reduce the risk of human error, right? Well, you know what, ever since the Garden of Eden, somebody's been trying to reduce that risk. Oh, that's good. I know you're passionate about training internally, and you use other resources. I know that you had a lot of your folks go through the CRL to become certified reliability leaders. Talk a little bit about the effectiveness of training as it's related to CBRE, because it's one thing to do it, it's another thing to know that there's an effectiveness, something that they were trained into to not do or to do. How has it helped with this human error effort? Yeah,
I think it just gets people to realize that there's a different way to do, the maintenance, or not do the maintenance if you don't need to do it. So encouraging people.
Okay. Not do the maintenance if you don't need to do it. Say that again, and why? What does that mean?
Well, I just think that, sometimes we do maintenance just for the sake of it, because you've done 3,000 miles in your car, so you need to change your oil. And, obviously that takes time, costs money, and is a waste of, oil potentially. So we want to assess the condition of the oil in our generators before we change it, and only do maintenance when it needs to be done.
Sounds brilliant.
So that's,
it is, isn't it? Well, let's go a little bit further. Here at this conference, we say, if it ain't broke, don't break it.
And I think that's what we found through COVID, when we stopped doing maintenance for a period of time, where we were used to going in every month and doing stuff whether it needed to be done or not, and thinking if we didn't do that, everything would fail. And then we stopped doing it because we couldn't allow people on the site for a period of time, and nothing did fail. Everything carried on. Even at some sites we saw a reduction in failures when we stopped doing the maintenance. So that kind of proved the point, I think.
But that's the funny thing, it proved the point in every industry, going, wait a minute. And the sad part, doesn't mean we don't need you guys in the maintenance department. Understand that, maintenance people, we love you. We still need you. What we're saying is, don't do maintenance that doesn't need to be done. And reliability-centered maintenance, condition-based maintenance, is the way that we believe it should be done, right? That's why we're here. Operator-driven safety and reliability is all about condition-based maintenance and doing reliability-centered maintenance. And I know you're not only a practitioner of it at CBRE, you're an advocate for it. Last thing I want you to comment on. You've seen the industry, and when I say the industry, I'm not talking about data centers, I'm not talking about industrial, I'm talking about the reliability industry. You've seen it change and grow. I mean, Terry O'Hanlon at Reliability Web obviously is a huge proponent of it. SMRP, you're a CMRP too, I think, right?
Yep.
Certified Maintenance and Reliability Professional, So we've had these organizations, but for some reason I think COVID actually pushed us to the next level, to challenge us to the next level, which is to bring reliability further into the organization. That's why we say operator-driven safety and reliability. I think that CBRE, now maybe there are other companies, I just don't know, but I think CBRE, what you have been doing is to drive that principle home more and more. Move it closer to where the failures are occurring, where the problems are, as opposed to having a maintenance crew come and do something, right? Removed from it all. But talk a little bit how hard that's been to change the culture of any organization to make reliability as important as safety.
Yeah, well, we've also, had to change, the CBRE culture and the way that our people think, but then we also have to go and convince our customers to do things differently as well. Yeah. And oftentimes, we're contractually bound to do certain things at certain frequencies, so we have to go and, start putting our customers effectively through the training to become reliability leaders as well.
Yeah.
Which kind of fits with, PAS 55,000 and everything that starts at the top and works down through the organization. So encouraging our customers to have a good asset management strategy, including how they're going to operate and maintain it, as well as replace it, the life cycle piece as well, is key to the success of that.
Well, if I had a data center other than my little laptop in my office, I certainly would want you all to manage it, maintain it, and keep it reliable and safe. Thank you,
We'd be
Mike.
delighted to. Thanks, Alan.
Okay.
Good to see you.